My name is Nadège Blond. I'm a research director at CNRS at University of Strasbourg. And my background is atmospheric science, but I'm working in a lab specialized in geography and urban planning. So I'm working there since 20 years, and the idea is to build link between atmospheric science and urban planning. Okay, so I will present you also a very fresh research project and its results. So the idea was to evaluate or start an evaluation of the school children risk exposure to thermal stress and air pollution. Before to start and discuss the project, I just would like to go back to this European heat wave. So some of you are young and did not probably experiment this heat wave, but it was a very, very, very exceptional event in Europe. And especially in France, we were not prepared at all. And what you see in the picture is the daily excess of mortality. And what you see is that this daily excess increased a lot in a very short time. So we had this heat wave, so it lasted in Europe during several weeks, actually. And what we remember on this heat wave is that we lost 70,000 people during the summer 2003. In France, it was plus 37% of excess mortality just in August. And if we look at who were concerned and who actually died in advance, I would say, was mostly the elderly people. And what I would like to remind also is that this heat wave was exceptional at this time, but it will be a typical event at the end of the century, our century. So you did not live this heat wave, but you will know this heat wave and more than one per year. And the question is, are we now prepared? So of course we learn from it, from this heat wave, and this is good. The problem is that what happens, this event arrived during the summer period, so the vacation period. It is a very specific period. People are in vacation, mostly. Elderly people were mostly alone or in their home. I don't remember who showed that 80% of the elderly people stay at home. And what we see is that in the future, the event will increase in spring and also after the summer. So it means that if we look at this frequency of the heat wave, and what you see in this picture that I took from the publication of Uzo, is that you can see the probability to have a heat wave as a function of the months. And what you see is that this frequency will increase in early June and will end at the end of October, at the end of the century. So it is long, time, but still we need to be aware that increasing heat wave, the frequency, will lead to increasing also school children risk exposure and under the responsibility of institutions. They were in vacation, but they will be at school. And what we have seen is that in France now we can see that when there is some heat wave, then some schools are closing. So there is a topic. The problem is that children population are a sensitive population because they do not have the same physiology. They have less sweat secretion, immature nervous system. They don't have at least a culture of risk, and they depend of people. So they depend of an adult to adapt their environment. The second problem is that the school that we built in a certain period are not so well prepared to be resilient to heat waves. So it means that we have an old panel of schools and we are going to experiment new heat wave in these conditions that are not adapted to the public. So what we wanted to do in the project that we developed last year was to have a look on the situation over one city. We choose our city because we already developed some studies to look at what would be the climate change situation and what will be the climate over the city. So we cross actually some simulation of the urban climate we have with some information about the schools to see if we can identify in the city some very vulnerable school that we could study especially. So we find one, so we develop criteria, and we find one who is in a very dense area, quite old, renovated, so in the 1880 years. So the building is not appropriate. So you have actually a picture, but you can see how it is inside. So we have big windows, like in here actually, mostly the same infrastructure. And what we decide to do is to make some measure inside the school during a full summer, so from May to July, and to measure the climatic condition, the air pollution, and also to interview the children on their perception. How do you feel? Do you feel warm, hot? Is it cold or very cold? So we have a scale. So you see there is much more possibilities. And they have done it very, very, very seriously. So they were very active in our research. So we were quite surprised, but they have done it. And what we have done with all this data was to compare objective measure of the climate and air pollution to the perceptions. So I'm going to go directly to the results. So the first results we obtained was to say, okay, when do they feel stress? The first threshold. So it means when do you feel uncomfortable? And if you look at these thresholds, they feel uncomfortable at a certain temperature. So we have climatic indicators, so I'm not going to show you the indicators, but what we show is that the children has lowest threshold than adults. So it means that they feel stress before an adult. Like I was telling, they do not have the same metabolism. So it means that the standard that we are using, because children are not so studied actually, it is difficult to study children because you need authorization and everything. So they are the forgotten of the list. But all the standards are done for adult people. And the idea is to say, okay, now we need to discuss at international this scale, adapted the scale for the children. To say, okay, if an adult will be comfortable, maybe the children will feel warm with high thermal stress or even hot. It depends on the climatic index. It's a bit complex. But anyway, what we have done was also to say, to look at the relation between the thermal perception and also the indoor air pollution that we were measuring in the school. So the idea was to say, okay, when they feel uncomfortable, what is the air pollution? And is there a relation between the two? There is a relation, but the relation is not easy to understand. Really not easy to understand. Because it depends a lot on the practices inside the classroom. If the teacher is opening the windows, and one was opening the windows at any time, even when it was warm, and so she lowered down the air pollution level, but increased the temperature inside the room. The other one was deciding not to open the windows. Actually, he could not open the windows because they were broken, so he could not do anything. But at the same time, he was protected by the temperature. Actually, they feel less the thermal stress. But then they emit air pollution when they are in the classroom. So they were then exposed to air pollution. So we have a relation. Yes?
Air pollution is CO2?
Not only CO2. In the air pollution index, we have CO2, but also PM. We have also some COV, organic volatile carbon compound. So we have also these air pollutants that are each of them are very specific to one activity. So we can, from the air pollution concentration, see from where the pollution is coming. Is it coming from outside? Is it coming from inside? COV are related to the indoor activity. PM much more from outside, but we find a way to identify from where the pollution is coming. So there is relation, but it is difficult to understand because of this dependency. Okay? So what we are doing right now is to develop models to try to understand the environmental performance, and we study some scenarios. I'm not going to detail these scenarios so much, but if we vegetalized some terrace, if we actually reduce also the size of the window, just very simple action, reduce the size of the window, or just, limitate the solar radiation inside the building, then we can reduce a lot the risk exposure of the children. So it's not costly. Not so much costly. The building will be renovated anyway, and it will cost a lot. But for what we have looked at, we can reduce the risk a lot, but only in the actual climate. So if we look at the situation for future, if we just look at what will be the condition, even all of the scenarios that today make us able to reduce the risk for the children are insufficient for future. No way to reduce the risk at this time. So what we, of course, conclude is that there is no way, or we need to renovate and finance this renovation. We are talking about children. It will concern everyone. So I guess now the priority is to renovate the building, taking into account two things: climate change at the end of the century, because 2003 already happened. and it will happen. So it's not future, it's just, it happened already. So it will come back, and we need to be prepared. We need also to take into account the specific condition of the urban areas. We have some higher temperature in the city, so we have to be careful with the urban planning. So Andrea discussed it a lot, and it is very important. So maybe we need to to discuss together. And if I have just key message, so school children are not studied enough, and we need to focus on it. They are important people for us, I think, for our society. And we need to put effort to put a priority. If we try to think about the thermal stress, then we need to reevaluate all the scales of risk concerning this population. It is open, the debate is open. We are waiting for some other studies to actually validate our results. And the thing is that if we look at the environmental performance, so all people in here discuss about energy, about thermal comfort sometimes, but not at all about indoor air pollution. But it is a real problem too. So we have to be careful to take into account that outdoor air pollution enter in the building, and we need to extract the indoor air pollution outside the building. And we need to know both outdoor and indoor to take the decision. So it is very important to know what's happened around the building in order to adapt the solution. So, so that's it for me. There is an urgent need to aware people about this problem. So I was here for that. Thank you very much. And this was the team who developed. They developed the vote box by themselves. So you see, it was in wood, and they produced everything. So it was a very funny project. Evan, the topic.
So basically, I don't know if I missed if it wasn't one of the first slides. But can you define heat wave? What does it mean? It's like an excess in degrees.
Yes, for sure. There is actually there is different definition. So it is always said. So you have stressors. So you during night first, and then you have the temperature during the day, maximal temperature. So it depends on the country. It depends, but usually you defined an heat wave when the temperature do not go below 20 during below 20. 20, it depends on the country actually. So, so it's like more or less 20 or 23 during night, and then if you excess 26 during days, then you can say that you have an heat wave.
Specific limit of time, you have to access 26 for
during 3 days. So it depends. Sometimes there is a series of 3 days. So if it happened during 3 days, then you can consider that you have an heat wave.
Well, this is change.
And you can mean also the Tmax during 3 days and the Tmin during 3 days, and see if the two thresholds are validated. Then you can say the heat wave starting.
So the chart that you showed before about the heat waves. Would it be the same in another country, or do they use other parameters to define the heat waves?
So there is different, because of course we don't have the same situation. There is difference between countries, but for the moment, when I show the results of USO, then of course they defined, if you can read the paper, sorry, this one,
Yes.
when you can read this paper, you will find how they defined an heat wave, the duration of the heat waves, and the intensity of the heat waves. And of course, they have done it for this country, but then they applied a specific standard, and they explain it that they enter in this Eurocodex standard to define an heat wave in different countries. So you can find. So there is some standards, but of course. It depends on the studies. Sometimes heat waves is not understood by everyone in the same way.
It's supposed to be related to the perception of the people as well.
Actually, it depends on the impact also. So of course, if you are in very warm countries, then you don't have the same also reaction to the risk. So in Europe we have a standard and we apply it, but there is difference between France and Italy. I think when they, because for example in France we make the difference. So I don't know how to say it in English, but between une vague de chaleur et une canicule. So there is two words, and if you speak about vague de chaleur, then you refer to the European standard. If you discuss about canicule, then you will refer to the Meteorological Institute, Météo France.
In France, or at least in southern France, many of the schoolyards are actually completely in concrete, no vegetation, no trees. And there are now some shy tentative of experiment schoolyard with no concrete and maybe with some vegetation. And I think that this kind of argument actually, they are maybe not considered enough in this decision, because these are really, they try to do it one school per year, so it's really not enough. It may be also a matter of cost, but so I wonder if you consider also this in your study, or...
In this study, we did not look at the outdoor environment, modification of the outdoor environment, because it was not possible. It was already so difficult. It was a short experiment. It was difficult to discuss with the public services, with also the professors, to organize discussion with the children. So it was only 1 year project. So we have not the possibility, to detail the modeling part and all the scenarios that we could test. But this is something that we can investigate in the future. But the city is already involved in such action that to green the schools, and so we have.
What is the barrier about that?
About the barriers, so sometimes it's very.
Easy to
But
as far as I know, is the entertainment, because if you are concrete, you don't have nothing to do. While if you have trees, you have to prune. If you have grass, you have to mow. So it is the effort required for entertainment, and then maybe the initial investment to revitalize.
It's not only maintenance, it's also the fact that in France we have so many rules, and professors and teachers don't want to be responsible. There's also that, which is a
because it
kind
would
of
be
a
more
break.
dangerous to be in.
What are the risks?
Depending on the types of aménagement.
but there is.
But there's a lot of debate about that.
Insurance programs, I guess.
Even maybe not. It's like sometimes just a very stupid situation where your child is coming back very dirty, you know, and they need to manage it, you know, because
It's also
the professor has to manage this situation, especially when it's raining, and the you know, the parents are not so happy to see their children very dirty. So sometimes it's very.
I mean, it's like a bit, you know, pushing the connection with nature in the paroxysm. Because being dirty as being children, it's normal. We forgot that.
But
the children has to come back clean and in the.
Exactly. But there is also a need for us to discuss with the population and local population, because, for example, we are discussing about very huge risk for the children. So it's not like just put vegetation in the school. It's just try to find some solution for them to be more comfortable at school. and at the same time, there is some parents that are very upset because their child are exposed to very warm temperature in the late June now. So it means that there was a conflict in the school. So we arrived with the instrument and we just wanted to put our instrument, but the city service is just aware, just saying, oh, you are coming from the parents? And say, no, we are disconnected, we are just doing research. And at the same time, we learn that there was a very intensive discussion with the parents about this situation in the school, because the professors, the children were already telling every year that it was too hot in the school. So we identified the good school to study. But it was also the good period for us, but not so representative of the warm climate, because June last year was a very, very raining climate month. So we had, but it was nice for us because like this we have a huge variation of temperature. So we have cold weather, like very warm temperature. So like this, the scale was diverse. So we were happy with the situation to test the methodology, but it was not representative. So the teachers were telling us, it's a pity because it's not warm as it is usually. I say, no, it's good. It's good for us for research and for the children also. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a bit related to what you just mentioned, but thank you for the presentation. I found it very insightful. I liked very much the mention you did to the fact that it is very difficult to actually measure thermal stress and indoor air quality, since they are, undistinguishable from the actual thermal regulation practices of the people that uses the built infrastructure. So that's key from my perspective, because also from a social practice theory point of view on energy retrofits and so on, it makes no sense to only modify the building in itself if you do not modify as well the actual usages that people give to those infrastructures. So my question, to be very concise, is because you mentioned at the very end some insights about potential interventions. If you ever consider, like during the study, about potential interventions related to modifying like these routinized practices of usage of the actual building, not only the actual retrofit project, but intervening into the practices of usage.
We haven't done it in the simulation, but we could do it. We can play, with the models as it is. The only thing is that we realize also that the teachers, you know, has many things to do in their classroom. So it is very difficult for them also to have to manage the building, to think the buildings, the children, you know, so it's a whole, I would say, work that we need to do. Is like probably it will take a long time to explain also and to make in practice the good behavior to avoid thermal stress and air pollution. You know, it is sometimes very stupid, but you know, we put, after the COVID situation, the COVID crisis, we put some CO2 detector in the room. But the problem is that when the threshold is reached, then the instrument is doing a noise. It's not possible for them because they should open, you know, open the doors. But sometimes they cannot open the doors because there is some noise in the corridor, or they cannot open the windows because there is a traffic line, so they cannot speak. So you see, they have these parameters also to look at. It means that they know they have the captors, they switch off the captors because they get crazy. They know that they should open, but they cannot open, and you know, they cannot open, they cannot do anything because they have to give their courses. If they open the windows or the doors, they cannot speak anymore, and it is very loudly in the room. So you see, you realize that it is more difficult. There are so many parameters to manage. It's like, and we discuss with the technical services of the school to say, okay, what could we do? I say, the guy was like, I don't know. You know, I don't know. How do you want me to manage this?
Understandable.
So it is a story of people and building. Yeah. So you have to manage the two at the same time. So you need to improve and insulate the building. We need to get used with this situation, but they do things actually. They know how to protect, but one is going to look at the air pollution, open the windows, and then the heat is entering in the room, but she feels okay, so that's okay. So she reduced air pollution, but she increased the temperature. So I guess, yes, there is a lot of work to aware professor, teacher, directors, technical services, and that's why I think one way is to probably diffuse some information, at least. So for us, it was the time to discuss with the children, time to discuss with the. It was our first experience, to organize this discussion. So we had time to discuss, but the time to discuss is also time that maybe is not the research scientist time, you know. So yes, we need to work with communication services also. Thank you very much.